Welcome to another edition of From the Front Lines, how real estate managers are addressing COVID-19. Our topic today is touchless access systems. I'm here with James Scott of the MIT Real Estate Innovation Lab and the innovator in residence at IREM. James, what exactly are touchless access systems and how are they used?
Touchless access systems or keyless entry systems are quite simply systems which are accessed without the requirement of touching, let's say, a doorway or the need for a key. These systems, they're generally bucketed into three different types. Those three types are biometric systems or card-based systems, and then with the third one being remote access systems. And we can outline each one of those as we move forward. But it's also worth noting that in addition to offering sort of an enhanced and healthier end user experience, they also, these systems also enhance the security of a premise using, very different types of systems within themselves. These systems, besides their primary application for granting access, they can be used for identity management and for time and attendance management as well. So circling back to what these systems are, I'll just give a quick kind of short overview of each type of system. And we can start on biometrics. So what they are, if you think of it, an access control, credentials can really be organized into three buckets again, which are you either something you have, which is a key card, or something which is generally like a PIN code, or something you are. And biometric credentials, they fall under the last category. So they include like data like fingerprints or your voice. And biometric readers, the price range from them can range from much cheaper end at one end of the spectrum to very, very high end multi-input readers. However, when it comes to biometric reading, a lot of employers over the last few years, they've not really felt comfortable a lot of the time using biometrics in the office environment. But I think we're going to see a lot more biometrics being initiated into a lot of offices over the next year. They can tend to be a little bit faulty when it comes to inclement weather, dust and humidity, and also fingerprints, which can run the risk of creating hygiene issues, with biometrics. So there is certain issues with them as you kind of delve into them. They generally are most people would be aware of them when it comes to the different types. Would be facial recognition, eye or iris recognition, fingerprint recognition, or the one that seems to be getting a huge amount of presence within the industry at the minute is voice recognition. And with the increased demand that COVID is putting on a lot of these systems, voice recognition, I think we'll see a huge kind of influx in demand over the next couple of months. The second kind of area of these systems is card-based systems, and they in that way they themselves are also divided into two a little bit as well. And it's for a lot of us, these will sound very familiar. It's the RFID cards and fobs, or the magnetic strip cards. And the RFID cards, they've been a very popular choice within office environments for access control because really they're relatively cheap. And the underlying technology within these key cards or fobs is, like I said, an RFID, and RFID stands for a radio frequency identification. Then within this, again, for the RFID cards and fobs, there's either proximity cards or we've got contactless smart cards. But we won't delve too much into those. But the other side of the cards, we have magnetic strip cards, and these are exactly what they sound like. It's the same technology that you have with your credit cards, which is a magnetic strip which stores data, and it's able to be read by a sweep card reader. However, swipe cards, they are still considered to kind of a little bit less secure than the RFID cards because they're not usually encrypted, and they have a tendency, they have their perception that they can be cloned a little bit easier. The third type is remote access systems, and these are doors or entry systems that are accessed remotely using generally a smartphone or possibly a laptop or a tablet. So what it is your smartphone application uses mobile credentials to unlock different doorways or pathways. The user generally installs an access control mobile app on your phone. You'll log in, and then as you approach the reader, and then what you do is, to unlock the door, you just either press the button on your phone, or either you tap your phone towards the reader, and it will gain entry. And these are really the three main types of keyless entry or touchless access systems that are available in the marketplace at the minute.
And James, have you seen an increase in the utilization of these systems since the onset of COVID-19?
Well, in a current environment, employers in all industries are seeking practical guidance on how to address workplace illness and infectious disease concerns. So in ensuring that they provide a safe workplace for their employees must take into consideration, a number or a multitude of scenarios where their employees could be at risk once they return to work. And, there's this whole concept of healthy workplaces, which is getting a lot of traction over the last year. And they're no longer simply about designing open staircases to encourage movement that can, boost wellness or productivity for the people inside. But rather they must, they initiate interventions that are focused on via the disease transmission or the risk of disease transmission. So, with that, one of the main concerns is obviously entry in and out of workspaces in office buildings. And so, which could give rise to the possibility of spreading the virus. So we're definitely seeing a big increase in demand. Pre-COVID, offices were trying to evolve into accommodating more flexible working conditions where businesses, they needed to provide next generation security with fast and reliable access control. And, what happened even before COVID struck, we found that there was an awful lot of really good solutions that were coming through that were, increasing worker satisfaction and, keeping employees safe, and then really, being able to effectively manage a number of different various risks that when it comes to the security of a building. Then, we also want to think, because of that, the demand for people trying to eliminate this risk or trying to, encourage people to come back to the office, plus with the, issues with the conventional entry systems, then, also complemented by, continuous innovations in technology. I think all of these have led to, an increase in demand for these types of systems.
The benefits of this technology are clear. Are there any downsides?
The main issue for me, I think, at the minute, but this will change over the course of time, is definitely cost. And it's definitely hampered the growth and the adoption of these systems, because there can be quite a high cost associated with these products. So, that's definitely one of the biggest hindrances in the technology advancing or being adopted. But not only a high initial cost of initiating the systems within place, but it can also be a high replacement cost for the systems. And that can be a little bit daunting for a lot of people to take on board. Also, some other small issues that tend to happen. Key cards and key fobs, they tend to be easily lost or stolen. So, that can itself create a security risk, which is never a good thing. And then, the big one that has taken place was, whether or not a lot of these cards were secure. So it's preventing but new technology is coming into place where it's making it much harder to allow these cards to be cloned. And that in itself, is generating far more secure systems in place as well. And they're probably the 3 or 4 main issues that are out there at the minute with these systems.
So James, what are the factors to consider when implementing an access system for the building?
I think when implementing a new system, there's a number of factors to consider, but I think paramount at the minute, in light of the circumstances the world is faced with, safety has to be number one. And keyless entry it's often been a nice to have in the past within an office, but however, I think in the workplace now with workers' health at stake, touchless doors or touchless entry systems, need to be a need to have as much as anything. On top of that, security, is paramount as well. The hardware, it must be tamper-proof, and the software should be updated routinely and protected against all sorts of potential vulnerabilities that that could be out there in the place. Be it cards being able to be copied or to be cloned. I think other aspects to think about is definitely user experience, and that's on both sides of the fence. So not only the user of the employees within the building, but also the administrators. These systems have to be able to be convenient for both parties. Otherwise, if people find it difficult, they're just not going to adopt them in the same way. You'd also like to see that they're reliable, that they have a proven track record of, be it server uptime or consistent unlocking experience. And, there's no real major issues let's say, weather doesn't affect them. And I know that sounds silly, but, across the U.S., there's a number of different parts that are open to extreme weather conditions, and you have to make sure that these systems work, in very, very cold temperatures as well as very hot temperatures. Flexibility is another one. The system should allow the user to configure each doorway and each entrance, as is necessary. Because certain doors will only be accessible to certain individuals who have been forgive me for this, certain, in order to meet, let's say, security requirements, it's really ideal to have, a number of different authentication factors for all of the different doorways and access systems within a building. And then finally, I would say cost is definitely is a big thing to consider as well. And I mentioned this before, but most, I think, access systems, they can range from $1,000 to up to $4,000 per door for the hardware installation. So this, it can be quite an expensive system to put in place. So you want to make sure that you have the right one and that you're looking at this, from a very long-term view, that these are the right systems that can be initiated through all of the other systems you have in place within your office environment.
Thank you so much for your time, James. And a programming note, this episode closes out Season 1 of our From the Frontlines podcast, where we've examined the various impacts of COVID-19 on the real estate management industry. We'll return in the fall with Season 2. Please continue to visit irem.org, where you'll find our page dedicated to providing updates and resources to support real estate managers in making informed decisions during this time. That's irem.org.